Yeah. No, this is fine. So this is going to be, okay. What? Yes, we're on. All right. All right, we're on. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning into Fallon's Daily Toast. I'm Fallon. It's good to be here with you all. And so if you don't know where I am, you can figure it out. I just wanted to touch on a couple of things that have been up in the realm of my life. I made a video a few weeks ago. It was, I said something. Yes. What's going on? I said this. I said that police, I referred to police as KKK in uniform. And I mean, can you blame me? Really? I'm sure there are decent officers around the world, around the country, even here in Somerville. You know, I've met a few that are really quite nice and comfortable, easy to be around. But I can't help but feel that a great majority of them are murdering psychopaths that should be locked up in mental institutions or some other just institution where they can, you know, seek the proper care that they need to work through their demented past childhood trauma that they haven't come to terms with. I don't know what to say more than that. I have seen this year videos that I never, that I still stick with me, videos of police officers strangling, murdering, shooting people, humans, primarily black men. So I said that on a video, and it got picked up by some alt-right, white, nationalist YouTuber, and now it's a meme. And I've been getting really, just barraged with comments. They don't bother me. I understand, I know what I stand by, and I stand and I will continue to stand and unite in solidarity with reparations to the black community. That is not something that I've ever in my life talked about or even have been, there's never even been a framework for me to understand. I didn't learn this in school. They didn't teach you in school. They still called slaves workers in textbooks. I mean, I want to read you some statistics that sentencing policies, implicit racial bias, and socioeconomic equity contribute to racial disparities at every level of the criminal justice system. Today, black people make up 37% of the U.S. population, but 67% of prison population. Overall, Africans are more likely than white Americans to be arrested, and once arrested, they are more likely to be convicted, and once convicted, they are more likely to face stiff sentences. Black men are 6 times as likely to be incarcerated as white men and Hispanic men, and more than twice as likely to be incarcerated as non-Hispanic white men. And so I bring that up to go along with something that I'm about to show you, which is that my statement of police officers, how I've completely just lost, any faith, any trust. I really have. Even on a few occasions in the recent years when I've happened to be in the present where police officers are having to deal with an altercation, there was a lot of impatience on their end and a lot of just, not enough patience and understanding. I feel very strongly that if you are going to be a police officer in this community, you need to go through some compassionate training. And so when I hear people talk about black community control of the police, I totally understand. I agree completely that black communities should have control of their own policing. Because what have the police ever done in their communities but kill their leaders, plant drugs in their neighborhoods, jail their children, kill their parents? I mean, come on, let's wake up. This is serious. And now you have the FBI that just recently released documents that they basically say they're going after black identity extremists. What about the white identity extremists? And that's what I said in my video, you know, I'm sorry, but I am so sick and tired of this. We all dance around it, no one talks about it. You've got cannabis now legal in Massachusetts and elsewhere in the country, and everyone's doing these like cannabis yoga parties and these, you know, cannabis like lounges and hotels, and everyone's just getting high and making money. Yeah, well, guess what, folks? All the people that have been jailed for minor misdemeanor crimes, you know, all the dime bags that have torn apart families and put young men and young women in jail that are still in jail. I will not continue to stand by and watch this. And if I hear anything about, you know, I won't jump on and criticize because I have too much work to do, but know that I do not agree. And if you want to have these yoga parties and you want to have these cool like members only smoke parties, have reparations. A portion of that reparation should go toward prisoners that have been enslaved because of that, because of marijuana, because of cannabis, because of a plant. You know, it's like the prison industrial complex is a monster. Capitalism is a monster. We're in the belly of the beast. So I just wanted to touch on that. But I also wanted to touch on the fact that police officers around the country and around the world, but I'm just talking here in this country. Right now I'm going to touch on what's happening down in Florida. The Pinellas County Sheriff's Department are like murdering young black children every day, if not every day, every year. They're jailing black children every day. They're criticizing them. They're, you know, torturing them mentally. They're, you know, withholding. They're keeping them from their family. They're putting them in cells. They're children. You know, we're talking 14 and 15-year-old kids that just were set up. They've been set up by our system. So I want to talk a little bit about something. I want to show you a video. All right? Just bear with me for a minute here because this is my first time using all of these tools. All right, so this here is a young woman that I really look up to, Akile Anai. She ran for city council, and she exposes the Pinellas County Sheriff Department in St. Petersburg, Florida, for the brutal and violent way that they treat the black community. And we wonder why black people want community control of their own police and their own schools. So that's going to be something. Just tune in. Hold on. Give me just a minute. I'm just going to pull it up, okay? 1 second here, folks. Thank you again for tuning in. You're watching Fallon's Daily Toast live on Facebook. I do want to talk about the fact that it's 7 o'clock. I'm going live with State Representative Mike Connolly. We're going to touch on some of this stuff, but we're also going to touch on gentrification and affordable housing. We'll touch on the mass cannabis laws, some things that are in place, and also some of the challenges that are they're being faced with. And we're going to talk about the FBI's recently released documents targeting the black movement, something similar to what the FBI did in the 1960s with COINTELPRO. They targeted the Black Panther Party, and that were just trying to build economic development and self-determination for the black community. And political prisoners, of which from that time are still in jail, which is bullshit. That needs to change. All of these political prisoners need to be released. A great majority of African men, women, and children need to be released. That is something, that I look forward to as a future policymaker. I'm going to play you this video. This is Akile Anai. This is to give you a setup. She is exposing the state. She's talking about exactly what I just mentioned with these the sheriffs just using their demented power and just torturing and these young children. So.
On August 6th, I can't even call them teenage because the youngest one was 14 years old. 3 black boys were killed by the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department. They were illegally chased, and chased to their death led to a fiery crash and killed Jimmy Goshi, Keontae Brown, and Desiree Thomas. And it's the same kind of murder we see a little over a year later, because we saw this same exact murder to Dominique Battle, Laniya Miller, and Ashaunti Butler, 3 teenage black girls that were chased and left to drown by Pinellas County Sheriff's deputies on March 31st of last year.
So that is a story that I highly suggest everyone look into, because that is something that's not new, that has been happening for a long time. And so you can understand the rage and the anger inside these communities. Their children are being murdered and chased and bullied and tortured. And this isn't new. Just like what isn't new are the overdoses. We want to talk about major, something so obvious that it makes me sick regarding the disparity, like the racial, the division. And by the way, I want to mention though that I'll actually, sorry, I'm in so many places, but I want to quote Chairman Omali Yeshitela at the end of this about race and how. Hold on one second. Actually, I'll just do it now. Give it to me. Just 1 second. So I don't have the exact quote, but as far as that people, I've noticed in some of the comment threads that people are saying that this movement is divisive, this Uhuru Solidarity movement, and it's far from divisive, being the fact that we are uniting by paying reparations to the black community. Like, we are under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. How much more united can one be, And so defining this movement as a struggle against racism is a self-defeating waste of time, Chairman Omali Yeshitela says. That what is called racism is but the ideological foundation of capitalist imperialism. So it's not racism, it's capitalist imperialism is what everyone is really the root of all the evil. So, but what I was going to touch on before is that you have all of these white people, these white European North Americans that are dying of heroin overdoses from fentanyl that's being laced in the heroin. It's not only being laced in heroin, so it's being laced in ketamine, it's being laced in cocaine, it's being laced in marijuana. They found traces of fentanyl in marijuana. So fentanyl is being laced in all of these drugs, and it's just this drug that is just like, it's a tranquilizer for elephants or something ridiculous. They use it on like stage 3 or 4 cancer patients from what I recall. And everyone's dying. Like in the last 2 years, like 50 people just in Somerville. But 3 years ago when I had to bury my sister who was a victim of the crisis that is, just devastating the world, the community, I realized at that moment that so many people before her and so that had died also of overdoses, that were addicted to crack, that were, and those in the black community were targeted and jailed for their disease. Whereas now it's a public health concern. You gotta be fucking kidding me. So now that a bunch of white people, a bunch of all-star football players and lawyers and, are dying from overdoses, now it's a public health concern and a crisis. But in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even before when, people were doing drugs and dying, it wasn't. It was a war on drugs. It was a crime. That is wrong. That is so wrong. So there's a lot of work that we have to do. And, we're getting started. I also wanted to touch on something really quick before I go, because I have to prepare for my interview tonight with Mike Connolly, which we'll all see because I'm going to stream it in this kind of way. But I wanted to touch on really quick something that I came across, which is really disturbing, regarding the Department of Children and Family. And it is that, let me just get here. Right here. So this is from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, okay? So of the nearly 25,000 runaways reported to the Center for Missing and Exploited Children in 2017, so just last year, of the 25,000 runaways, 1 in 7 of which were likely victims of sex trafficking. Of those, 88% of them were in the care of social services. So the Department of Social Services, Children and Family, the big, massive kidnapping ring that's just like all over the country, that just kidnaps children. I said it in a video, the video that got picked up by the white nationalist that, is getting tons of really great hits and comments on. 88% are in the care of social services. So that's another thing that I'm going to be pressing my local representatives and local, just senators on, is how do we give license to these agencies that are imposing flawed philosophies upon our people? They can just go into a household and take children. They get paid $834 million by the federal government. That's Massachusetts just alone. $834 million to go in to kidnap children. You should see these statistics. The data is there, folks. You want anything, you email me. I will email you everything you need, all the information you need. It's all out there now. So we got to wake up to it, because I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, $834 million could really be used in a completely different way to show compassion, to heal, bring families together, to figure out the root of the trauma. There's so much deeply embedded trauma from just slavery, from the enslavement of Africans. Like all of the wealth in Massachusetts, all the wealth amassed was built in the back of Africa and Africans. There's so much value all around us, and where is that value? A value doesn't just disappear. But then you see all of these black African men, women, and children that are just without proper housing, without proper health care, without proper resources, So that's why I pay reparations. So I pay reparations, and my reparations goes toward economic development. Right now, Black Power Blueprint in St. Louis is beautiful. Go ahead, Google it. Google Black Power Blueprint, St. Louis, Missouri. You will find something so stunning. You'll likely see a beautiful woman who's glowing, Chairwoman Ona Zane Yeshitela. She's been a leader in, just helping to oversee and just do a lot of the building and behind the scenes work and front of scene work. And there's just been so many people flooding and volunteering and paying reparations, and it shows. And I'll be going there in April, and I'm psyched about it. As I said, there's community kitchens being built and gardens and, just event spaces in a devastated district that was pretty much comprised of just broken down, buildings, boarded up buildings, and they've been taking building one by one and having to completely renovate and gut the interior and change all of the infrastructural sewer and water lines. And it takes a lot of money and it takes a lot of labor. And I do not want you to forget that this country should be led by the working class. And I'm going to say that this country should be led by the African working class, because why not? It's not really led by any working class right now. you can see that unions are being seems to me that unions are being stomped out left and right. What's up with that? You know, is that some alt-right plan to kill democracy, to really I'm all about unions. I'm all about setting the bar high. So, yeah, I definitely have a lot more to say, but I don't want to keep much more of your time because I feel like I've been ranting a bunch, and I need to kind of get back to compiling questions for Mike Connolly. So, yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Please be in touch. If any of you of my white friends are like, wow, this sounds like something I want to do, I definitely want to pay reparations, or I want to understand the discussion around reparations, please feel free to reach out to me. I can put you in the right, company, to connect you to the right people, and that's it. We have a lot of work to do, but we have to start doing it now. Otherwise, who's going to do it for us? The government isn't going to do it for us, So that's it. Thank you all so much for tuning in. So much love to you. I'm going to leave it out with Oompa. Give me just a minute. So, all right, here we go. Just a minute. So 2017 Women of the World Poetry Slam. This is Oompa. Oompa is a slam poet and hip-hop artist from Roxbury who's now a resident of Cambridge. She's a hood, queer, black, womanist, orphan, auntie, sister, friend, and teacher. And she is also a member of the 2016 Haley House National Poetry Slam team. And so this is Oompa. So thank you all so much again for tuning in to Fallon's Daily Toast. So much love to each and all of you. Keep up the good work. To the liberation of Africa, African people will free us all. So just continue on with that, okay? Ahuru.
Before going into law enforcement, Brian and Laniya received a degree in agricultural leadership from Texas A&M. Before moving to Texas and being stopped by police on the side of a highway, Sandra Bland was alive. Brian and Laniya explains to Sandra the nature of her death. Have you ever heard of transplantation? The act of moving a plant from one location to another in hopes that it produces more in its new environment? The act of moving a plant to a better place suited for it to live right? Well, I tried to make a good flower out of you, girl. Thought you too full of life and color to not be covered in dirt. I needed to show you that this side of a Texas road is pale and callous the way we like it, and there is no room for wildflowers or thorns here. You should be grateful I picked you to make part of my bouquet of tamed ornaments. But you resisted, could not trust I knew best how to do my job. Because I know flowers, they bright and bold, got a short lifespan but audacious enough to be alive. With their backs straight and necks high, like they don't know what's coming, like no matter what's coming, they're waiting for sun. I told you I would light you up, meaning I was all the sun you were gonna get that day on the side of that highway. But you did not thirst or beg for me, just reached and stretched like you were old space bigger than the one you were laid out on. And isn't that the nature of a wild thing? But I wanted to make a good flower out of you still. I plucked you from that road and planted you in a dark your type are used to and best in. When the night settled, your limbs stretched skyward and blossomed and hungered for air. And I thought you might have been a moonflower, a nocturnal bloomer, the way the purple washed over your face under a growing moon, and the way we came to find you the next morning an ornament, an ode to last night. Your body wilted and contorted into itself. And every botanist worth his salt can tell you about transplant shock. How if you fail to plant the root well and the plant experiences stress, the plant may no longer be able to function properly. The plant may die. The dirt fell from your body like evidence, and we covered it with more dirt. packed it tight to keep you in place. You were so pretty, Sandra. We watched you become what you could be that night. Stock harvested for celebration, a symbol for sorry, dressing for tombstones. Sandra, we made you pretty, enough for the world to cry at when they looked at you. You're welcome.